I want to say hello to everybody in all of the different countries. So we have here as well Alberto, as you said, from Mexico. I know that there's people from Germany, obviously, and even from Bali. I'm sitting just in one of the next rooms, another product manager from Berlin, actually. So workation is a big thing, and you can do great things no matter where you are. That's one of the messages as well. And for today, I would like to show you why we started with the product playground and what it enables us to do. So maybe shortly, what is Flightright? Company with 10 years of experience in getting money back from airlines for compensations. It's not always back, but if you have a flight problem, you can get up to 600 euros, and we already collected more than 350 million. That makes us really trusted brand, especially in Germany. And there was one thing on this slide deck, which is about the superior user experience, which was a bit questionable, or maybe it still is, because the technology didn't change for a long time. I mean, you probably know the issue. I wouldn't say that our tech stack is a monolith, but at least we have a lot of issues for making any changes and especially doing any test. So product discovery is really hard. And we tried to find a way out. So what did we do? We did a hackathon, and also we had tried for already 4 times to create a new flow that is more user-friendly and has a better user experience, and obviously then creates more cases, has a better conversion. We have been failing doing this on a long run. So we said, okay, how can maybe low-code tool helps us? And we did a hackathon of just 2 days, and we've been able to do the 0-0 goal, the core goal. We did achieve much more, but the one thing that we wanted to find out, can we, with this low-code tools, create a case that the customer can sign? We used it only for cancellation. So we have learned from Joshua, there's as well problems like missed connecting flight. There's problems as well of delay. But let's focus on one tiny thing. Let's say only cancellation. And we've been able to achieve this within those 2 days. And we said, wow, that's the moment where we think, great opportunity to continue looking into this, because obviously it looked horrible and it wasn't functional in the sense of giving this to a customer. But we showed us the API calls and all of those connections, they are functional if we go with low code. And I want to show you what low code tool we used and how they helped us. So one item is the editor. So that's where you can do the front end, and you can do this by creating pages, as many as you want. Then you have like a preview where you can see what you get. You can move in items, text fields, headlines, input fields, and connect those input fields with data sources. You can style and do whatever you want with the visuals. That's really fantastic, because it gives you the possibility that product managers can set up the structures, and designers can go straight in here and make it look good and easy usable, and can as well click here on the button for getting into the mobile view or desktop view, and make it responsive and look good on all platforms, instead of going into the design tool, designing something there, and then hope that the front-end developer loves pixel-perfect implementations, so that it will look like what he wants or she wanted to design. Here, the designer goes straight into the tool, and we didn't even create design files so far. It's really just done in the front-end tool, and we went live with this. I told you that obviously you need to save some data. So flight problems is a bit complicated because you have some API calls. So you need to find out, is this really claimable? Is it not claimable? But there's basic information that you need to save. And we used for this tool called Shano. It's like a spreadsheet style, and you can just add a new column very easily. And then even updates all the API calls. We will show you in the Act part later on, where it gets a bit more interactive. And here you can see how we did a small calculator that said that, okay, for this flight we have on this date, there's this claim amount. And this is how we were able to say what flight is claimable and not, and give this information to the customers. So what did we actually test?
Hi guys, just a quick information that we have to cut some parts of the recording due to confidential information, but we'll keep right going with the practical part of how to use low-code tools.
This is supposed to be a bit interactive, so there's one question we would like to ask to you, and that's actually handing over to Alberto, who is the product lead for what we call here airspeed funnel. So maybe Alberto, can you hear us and ask the question?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. So right now, the idea is to know more about what's your problem that you're facing, or how can you imagine that low-code tools or no-code tools can help you. And we can have like a brief demonstration of how this can be built using WeWeb in Sano. So I don't know what's the medium that you usually use for this, or if anybody already shared any questions or thoughts in the Slido application. But if not, you can just unmute yourself and tell us a bit of how do you think this can work for your organization or for the problem that you're tackling, and then I can share my screen and see how we can build this together.
So the idea is we don't have any questions in Slido yet that are specific on a product, but maybe we can just give like 1 or 2 minutes for thoughts. If there's somebody who has a specific challenge or idea within their own product, then we can use your knowledge, Alberto and Richard, of low-code tools to find out if there's a quick way to incorporate those ideas or challenges within the tools. So is there anybody or anyone who has a quick or rough idea what we could build? Alexandra, please unmute yourself. Hi.
Hi, guys. I'm coming more from the sales side rather than from the product development side. But since we're having like the biggest fair of retail coming up, the EuroShop, what's really big in my industry is the transfer from, let's say, you get to know someone, they want to have more information, or you actually want to get the details and everything. How do I connect the first physical get to know each other, like the first touch point on the fair, with the CRM system, and like actually getting a book call so that I can do a demonstration and everything? I know this is kind of the very friction. Yeah, it's really, how do you call it? It's a really tough spot in the whole customer journey, because it's still part of the discovery and you don't even know if there is a good product fit for the problem that the person has. Maybe some thoughts on that?
Sure. So I think that this is also very similar to what we're doing at Flightright, because what we're doing is like, with this new approach, is gathering leads. So we're not 100% that they're going to be customers, but we are 80-90% sure that they could be customers, right? So what we're doing is doing some kind of qualification, that it's really short and really smooth with a few questions, so that then we can activate the users. So what I have in mind here is that we can build something also in that area together. Maybe I will just share my screen and then you can guide me and tell me like maybe 1 or 2 questions of how would you qualify a user to see if it's going to be a good customer or not.
Yes. So the company I'm currently contracted with is, let me show you. It's selling anti-theft protection that is like smart sensors. So this is a bottle tag, it opens automatically, and this is also like a fashion tag. So once you pay, like no attendant has to come over and detach it for you, but once it's paid, it's just falling off, and then so you can have like seamless shopping experience. So the first question is obviously, are you a brick and mortar retailer? Like, do you have physical stores that currently use hard tags?
Okay.
Because if you're an e-commerce shop, obviously you don't need that.
Let's so here I am in WeWeb. I will show you like more interactive how it works. So right now I'm in English, but I can add multiple languages here as well. So let's write something like get in contact with us, right? And then you just like double click and you can write here on the right side, you can style it. This is especially quite good for the designers. So for example, here you can include a design system so that everything looks like the very consistent within your designs, but let's keep it simple and go on. So here it is a form. So here you see it says create ticket. Then let's say something like, yeah, let's go. And then the first question you said, it's if it's a brick and mortar store, right?
Yes.
So I will go here to elements. And here, when I go to the inputs, I can add an input. And let's say that this is going to be a very simple select component so that they can select yes or no, but they just changed the elements here. Let me try to find it. Security code, verification code. You can also,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Because here I feel like, so I got like 5 questions in my mind that just from like a sales perspective or marketing perspective are really important to know early in the process, just to know what type of information you want to give afterwards. But then on the other hand, it's a bit like the thing that you've shown or that your colleague showed earlier. How many questions do you want to ask before people are like, oh, well, I have to go, I've got my next appointment, sorry, bye.
Yeah.
Like everybody been on a fair, being a retailer probably knows how. It's like, feel like being stuck in a date that you don't want to have. So
maybe,
it's really
advantages here is we can't tell, the low code will not be able to tell you how many questions you should ask. But what you could do is you could quickly adapt it and remove or add a question based on the feedback that you got. So let's say you give your mobile phone after a discussion into their hands and they should select it. And you will see where they are stuck and where it works well. And based on this, where you see that they are stuck, you can very quickly then make a change to it.
okay,
and that's
yeah, makes sense.
Of the playground. So it will not deliver you the answer, but it will make sure that you can shorten the cycle of test, learn, and adapt.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can imagine this like, for example, a landing page in which you say, this is why you should buy my product. Right?
Very straightforward, like that.
And then here you have like benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3. And you can have assumptions about which benefits are more important for your audience, right? And then this is something that maybe you want to test, right? And then you will have the contact form and you will measure how the contact form actually performs, right? If you are highlighting the benefit that it's really relevant for your users, then the form will be used more than if you actually were you're highlighting something that it's irrelevant for them, right? So this makes you very flexible in the part in which you showcase your product, and then the form itself, it's just to show you how you can save data. But the most important thing is how easy it is to actually change the whole thing that you are testing. Like, for example, in this case, the benefits. So, for example,
gotcha.
So here, are you a brick and mortar retailer, right? So, and then here you have like two options. Here on the right side, you have these two options. You can, the label in English is yes, value is yes, no, value is no, placeholder is select an option.
Okay.
And then here, if I go already to the preview mode, I can see that my two options are there. Maybe, do you have another questions that you could use to qualify a lead?
Oh yeah, actually, whether they are actually using hard tags. Do you got product protection in form of hard tags?
Okay.
But this is like really specific. I don't know whether this is relevant like for the rest of the call. So
You
yeah,
have
I totally.
another question that is more like an open input field, like company size. Is this maybe relevant, like, or amount of employees or amount of contacts with with customers, so that we could use a number field, for example?
Yeah, number of stores, obviously. And then like what countries are they operating with in? And then the question is also, so some companies, they got as Decathlon, for example, they got their RFID tags as security tags. They got them from the factory already. So some stores, they actually have their employees connect every item with a hard tag. And other ones have it just like built in the factory. So that's something important to know as well, because this is obviously something that's only important for the ones that do it in store.
So maybe just to keep it very, very short and like show you the flexibility, we can stick with these two questions.
Yes.
And say, okay, are you a brick and mortar retailer? Yes or no? And the number of stores that you have, and maybe we can have here email, right? So this so that you can actually contact the person that is submitting the form. So here I am changing the input type to email. Here, enter your email as placeholder, and then we have like already a form, right? So if
Can I do something?
Yep.
Can I do something like, so if they don't have a physical store, then they're obviously not our target group.
Yes.
I mean, they can have plans to do that in the future, but this is not our target group as well, because it's not, you can't like, it's too far in the future. If they say no, can I have like an auto response automatically, or is this like further down the process? Because thank you for contacting us. You're not our customer yet. Come back when you are.
So this could be something that you could do. What I would probably do is to save this information anyway, because if I see that there's a lot of customers that are coming to my website that are not a store, maybe there's an opportunity to find out there, and I would like to have like their email,
Okay.
right? So this would be something that I would filter from the data later, than stopping right here the user that wants to get in contact with us, right? Maybe you can have an automated response later, but having this data may be valuable later if you want to sell something that is relevant for a new target audience, for example.
Totally makes sense. Didn't think about that. Sure.
Cool. So then we have like this very simple structure. We can go here to see how it works. So I can click yes, then I can enter a number, let's say 10, and then I can put my address, flightright.de, and then I can click on let's go. Here it's not doing anything because it's just like an empty page without any functionality. What I want to show you is also how easy it is to connect it with Sano. So what we're using here on the back end. Here we have the tables that it is like very similar to a database, and I will just add the table, and I will say lead qualification demo, and So right now I already added the table, and you see here like the IDs that are created automatically and a timestamp when they are created. So what I will just add is fields that I have to save from the form. So the first field that I added was if they are a brick and mortar store or not. So I will just probably select here. I'll make it easy, just save text and say, is brick and mortar store. And then I created already here a new property. And then I also have the number of stores. Right. And I have the email. So it's a text email. So right now I already have the structure where I want to save all of the data, right? But this is empty and this is not connected with WeWeb. So what we're going to do is we're going to create endpoints to be able to add more information here to this table. And this is like really, really great from Sano, that once that you create a table, it is super easy to actually create the endpoints. So I will go here and I will just create a new API group demo. And in this API group, I will just add an endpoint. So I need to, first of all, an endpoint to add data, right? So I am going to select my table here, lead qualification demo. And then what I want is to actually post new information to my table so that this information can be saved. So then I create this automatically, and then you already see that it is already created. Here I can see that the inputs are the 3 new fields that I created: is brick and mortar store, number of stores, and email. And what it does is like it adds a new record to this table, which is the lead qualification demo, and it starts mapping the inputs to my table that I created. So I can, for example, here test it. This is how the data will be added to the table. You have to see here the JSON object. So for example, I can say yes, 10, and then my email at test.de, and then I run it. And then I see that it worked. I can go back here to my database and try to find my table and lead qualification demo, and then I can see that a new record was already created, right? So we have this endpoint that it's adding data to my table. What it's missing here, it is to connect with here with WeWeb. What I'm gonna do is, yeah. Go.
Do I have a quick question? I hope it's not offending anybody. It's just that, so I've been doing forms before with just Google Forms.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a low-code tool as well, if you say so? Or because I get a sheet file with all the data as well.
Yes.
So I think I was about to recommend you anyways typeform.com because I think that is for your specific use case probably even better. The message of this session here is more, have a look into where you can get your playgrounds, and for specific use cases, and being honest, for yours, probably a form builder is even easier and more low code, and that's why it's better suited. In the end, it's about how we can get the testing cycle quicker. And I think with Typeform, it's easier to manage for you or for anyone, and probably then even more suitable in this case. But what we see here, what Alberto is showing, is that there's much more possible with tools and low-code tools when it gets a bit more complex. And that's that just everything is possible. So we don't want to promote any specific software here anyways, but we want to promote the idea of, hey, get your own product playground.
Can you get information like how many people started a form and then like stop within the process?
So this is information that you could get when you connect this with analytics. So it is not really out of the box, because also I would say WeWeb is not only for forms. So you can see whole projects that are built on WeWeb, applications like, I don't know, a site to post jobs and then connect people. And so anything that you can imagine, actually you can build it here with WeWeb. So for this matter, it is not a specific, the features that they develop just to create forms, but forms are in any organization and in any B2B or B2C context really important, because they are probably the first touch point with the user, right? So right now the form is already working, and here when you go to the workflows, you can see that here is a REST API call that I am doing, and I am saving these forms. But this REST API is really whatever you want. If you already have an endpoint that does something way more complicated than just saving data, then you can just use it and read the response, and based on the response, you can make here a decision. Like, for example, here, if the response is this, go to this page. If not, go to the other page. So here it's quite simple. You are just saving the data and then going to the thank you screen. And if I go here, for example, and I say yes, then I have 300 stores, and then my email is bigretailer@demo.com. And I say, let's go. So here you can see there's already some validation in place by the configuration that I did. So I said, okay, it's only from 0 to 100. This is basically something that you can do. I will just show you as well what happens here if the email is not right. Let's say I have 50 stores, and then I try to continue. Okay, it is not. It was not really validated, but here you can see, okay, thank you screen. If we go to the data and we refresh here the table, then we have here the big retailer. And I added here a button to go back, and you can also see. So it is quite flexible, because it is using like REST APIs in a pure sense. You can read the response, and based on the response, take another decision. You have also variables that you are storing here in WeWeb. You can create your own formulas. You can have collections of information that are bound to different data sources here, like Airtable, but also like Sano, like Google Sheets, like whatever you can imagine. They can be static, they can be dynamic. You can create pages based on your database as well. So you're really flexible here. So going back to the question, can you use REST APIs to do more complex stuff? Yeah, definitely you can.
Sounds awesome, actually. So there are some questions that go into a different direction, and I just copy and paste them to the chat and read them out. So you maybe can answer those directly from the chat. This is from Eric. He's asking, has low code enabled more / different people to create the experiments, or has low code enabled the same people, in particular the devs, to create them faster?
It is really other people, because it's product managers and designers. And I give you an example. We had so for alternative flights, you need to enter them, and it's a bit annoying to enter alternative flights, because so if you have a cancellation, then sometimes they rebook you to another flight, and you have to enter twice information, and it's a bit hard. And it was our working student as a product manager who's working for us only 3 days a week, and he had an idea of how this process could be better. And he was able, with low code, to do this directly inside there and have a working prototype that is not only design prototype, but that is really already getting the information and this better flow by saving the data than in our backends. And this is something that would have been completely impossible. So if somebody has an idea, then usually you would go to a designer, they design some screens in a design tool, then they might put them together in a user flow, maybe in another prototyping tool, depends on your stack. And then you have something to discuss with the designers. And then eventually, if you find the priority to develop it, then it will be live at one point in time and you can test it. But now it's within one day that the product manager can try out this idea, discuss it with the designer, improve it with the designer, and the designer can go in and say, oh, actually, we need to element the we have an information hierarchy issue here. We need to insert here a text field. We need here more information. The title has to be actually this size and that size. And he does this completely independent as well. No developers, product managers saying, yeah, true, makes sense. Yeah, just watching how you do this. Next day, you have an even better version that you can go and give into the hands of your customers for qualitative testing. And if you feel good about it, put it live for quantitative testing. We as product manager had been empowered by the tool to create what we really had in mind, instead of needing to write down acceptance criteria, big documentations, and go through the development process. So the idea of the playground is really to quickly test new ideas and assumptions. And that was possible. And we wouldn't have been so far without that.
I'm wondering, aren't there any downsides communication-wise with the stakeholders or others? There are some people talking about shadow IT when you develop something that's not aligned with the main product. Is there something that showed up at your company as well?
So we had concerns that the developers might not like the idea of us product managers having the flow and managing a flow. But what we found out, especially with the hackathon, was that they'd been excited that it's possible to make so quick changes, because that's in their own interest as well. And they say it's better if you do something there and learn, so that I will build something that generates value for sure. And they felt this even that this was something good, because in the end, when there's a better user experience, it's better for the developers as well, when they know that they're working on something valuable. And as I said, we are not able to build all the flows and user journeys on our own. We took a specific part that was very simplified. I would say it is covering 10 to 20% of our product and traffic that we can get. And we don't want to have more. But we have this one end-to-end journey, so that if there's one specific step that is used everywhere else, we can make a change there, test it, and then roll it out to all of the use cases. But this will be then done by the developers in a later point in time, which will take more effort. But they can be sure that it's a well-discovered method that we even have iterated on our side maybe several times after user feedback.
There's one question that goes in a similar direction. When you started with low code, didn't you worry that you would have a lot of work to merge it with the main product afterwards? So developing on two different sides, isn't that a huge investment? We
don't want to integrate it. So we just use it for A/B tests. And so it's live then for 2 weeks, maybe 1 month. But then we will switch it off. We have learned, and it goes into the development. So we have some merge problems on our side as well, but they are completely unrelated to the successor technology that we are building anyways. So we build a better informed successor technology right now.
Awesome. There is one specific question. Are those forums spam proof so that you won't get spammed by bots?
We didn't look to this into specifically, Alberto. Do we have an answer to that?
So here, maybe the forms, they are not really, so it's a database, right? So you can, you will see everything that comes in. But for example, if there's, there are already anti-spam solutions that you can integrate with the forms anyway. So you can do also these integrations here on WeWeb. So you can add like a CAPTCHA as well. You can filter the information. You can do whatever you want. Basically, you're free to do. So
there's a question, why did you choose WeWeb for your case? And are there other tools that you can recommend, maybe other tools that you tried out before?
Alberto, one for you for me.
Yeah, so I think that WeWeb, it is not so old. And actually, this is probably one of the reasons why we chose it, because there are older low-code tools, but they are not really that usable. And WeWeb was an option that it's actually a really young company that was founded by Y Combinator, and they are growing really, really fast, and they are really focusing on the user experience of creating the flows and so on. Yeah, we chose them basically because of this, because they have also an integration with Sano, which was also the backend that we wanted to use. And specifically something that I think that it's great from WeWeb, it is that it is so easy to build the front end that the designers can do it themselves. So this means that there's no handoff between the designer and the front end developer to implement something, but because the designers can do it themselves. Other no-code tools are more complex, so that it will be way more difficult for designers to actually do the work themselves, which defeats the whole purpose of what we want to do with the no-code tools. So I think that the usability of WeWeb was the reason why we decided to use it. And a plus was also the integration that it already had with the backend that we're using of Sano.
Maybe to mention some other alternatives, Bubble.io is like the biggest low-code for front-end application, I would say, and you can probably combine it with Airtable, which is a spreadsheet-like backend-ish, but less complex solution than Xano. We needed Xano because we have some API calls on our side as well, and it was easier and more powerful for us. But as I said with Alexandra, your use case is the one that counts. So maybe even Typeform does a better job. So then pick Typeform.
Normally we only talk theoretically, but you just gave us the proof that you can actually work pretty fast with those tools nowadays, and it's worth a look for product people to get those upsides, like you said. Integrating ideas and A/B tests fast without having to work with the already busy developers. So I think this was awesome. Thanks for stopping by from Mexico and Thailand and giving us the opportunity to raise the questions. There are some more questions left. So where do people find you if they want to get back to you? Can they reach out to you on LinkedIn or?
Absolutely. So please find me, Richard Illig, on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest to get in contact. I'm always happy to have a one-on-one session, so I can send you them in a Calendly link if you want to talk with me. Happy to do so as well.
Hope to see you again sometime and maybe next year, and we see where you got.
Great. Thank you very much.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.